Well, yeah, my name is Joakim Ziou, and I represent HV Transport. And not sure how this one works. How do I skip to the next slide? Oh, that one. All right, yes. So I would like to raise the question today as to why we don't use biogas while we wait for hydrogen and battery-powered solutions. But first, I'd like to say a little bit about the company HV Transport, which was established in 1992 by Jørgensen. Back then, the fleet only consisted of a few buses and a few trucks. Then in 2006, the company opened their headquarters here in Herning. And if we fast forward until 2022, the business has expanded to more, to even more areas, business areas, such as contracted driving, container transport, manure and biogas transport, trading in raw materials like gravel, sand, soil, and more, owns a gravel pit, and a web shop called sandshoppen.dk. And currently there are about 50 employees in the company, and their fleet consists of 35 trucks. So HV Transport, they believe in the value of following the technological advancements, and that also goes for the green transition, because we want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So we still have a long way to go, but we believe we're on the right path. That's why we've replaced 90% of the fleet with Euro 6 emission standard trucks, and the company was the first in Denmark to acquire the first biogas heavy truck, and has even ordered another one also from Scania. Right, and HV Transport is very honored that these investments have contributed to them being being one of the 3 winners of the Green Transportation Awards, as well as a winner of the Owner Manager of the Year, and that was in the category of sustainability. Right, I would like to say a little bit about this biogas-powered truck. Our truck, it drives 24 hours a day, and according to calculations, in a single year, that has saved the climate for 306 tons of CO2, and that's just in a single year. By comparison, the citizen representative of Copenhagen has allocated 205 million Danish crowns for the transition of 278 cars from fossil fuel to battery power. And they expect that this investment will reduce the CO2 in the atmosphere by 1,400 tons. So if we compare these numbers to the ones of the biogas truck, I think it's very easy to see that it's very efficient with the biogas solution. So yeah, why not use biogas today? That's the question. Because biogas trucks like ours, they are 100% CO2 neutral. They emit less noise than the diesel trucks, and they emit much less particle pollution, and even the drivers, they think it's a very pleasant driving experience to drive them. And this is a technology that is available today. And fuel stations have been located different places throughout Denmark, like the ones you see on the picture over here. And they're very easy to use, and it works really well. So if you compare that to the battery-powered trucks, if we were to use battery in these trucks, then after driving for about 4 hours, we would have to charge for about 5 to 6 hours. The costs would be 3 to 4 times as much as with diesel. And if you were to buy a new set of batteries, that would cost about 1.2 million Danish kroners. And also the sheer weight of the batteries, they are 5 to 6 tons, which will limit the amount the truck will be able to tow, or allowed to tow. And then there also is power to X, of course, and that's not really a viable solution yet either, and it might be 5 to 10 years before it is. So a shout out to the Danish politicians that the transport sector in Denmark is actually already ready for the green transition today. But there needs to be some reasonable conditions put in place first. Because right now, the biogas is being taxed as if it were fossil fuels, and that doesn't make much sense. And our neighboring countries would agree to that. So it really just is minor adjustments that would make a huge difference and would make people invest in this technology. So yeah, that's a big question today. Why tax green CBG gas as if it were fossil fuel? That's really all I have right now. Yeah, and if you have further questions, then you are more than welcome to ask Simon and Jørgensen, who sits all the way in the back right now. And yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll haste on to the next speaker in this combined session. So, Birger,
Yes.
you'll take the scene now.
That's one. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Joakim, for a very nice and pleasant presentation of your experiences with driving in this truck. It's actually, for us, it was quite an experience because this truck transport roughly 56 tons. It's only a 410 HK, so it's horsepower. So it was even getting our chauffeurs, drivers to change, that was quite a bit, but it runs 24 hours a day. I've been driving more than 140,000 kilometers in 1 year, so it's pretty efficient. Now I just have to figure out which one I have to use here. Yeah. It's the wrong way? No. Ah, here we are. Thank you. So I'm supposed to tell you a bit about the biogas. And that we actually can change the climate, or do something about the climate change today in transportation. Shortly, who am I, or who are we? Bioman is part of Birger Group, which is one of the leading producers of biogas in Denmark. Owns 9 plants and runs 10 in Denmark, and we recently bought a plant in Germany. We have several years of experience in building and constructing, running biogas plants. It's a private-owned company. With a majority shareholder and retirement funds on the other side. Besides, as a Bioman is trading biomasses for our biogas plants, we also trade CO2 and biogas in general. So we started up 2 years ago, planning setting up some CBG gas station or refilling station in Denmark. And why did we actually choose CBG instead of doing LNG as a liquid? As it's far easier, it's less costful having this CBG. It's a shorter distance, but it's plug-and-play solutions. We can use the natural gas or gas grid, and then we have a gas station. We opened up the 4 with the blue last year, and it has been quite a success, especially around the Zealand area. They've been well recognized using natural or biogas as a fuel. And we're now planning on opening another 5, which is all being placed at the highway across Denmark. So coming back to one of the major problems, transportation is a huge problem in terms of carbon dioxide. It's accounting for 28% of the outlet in Denmark. And if you look into heavy trucks, it's roughly 30% or 1.6 million tons, which is the outlet of carbon dioxide. And actually, there is no incentive in Denmark to do anything green if you're in transportation. And it's quite funny, and something I don't really get that we don't do anything about, but there's a lot of things I don't understand about politicians. Actually, if you look into the potential of biogas, and not talking about what we call e-methane, but biogas has a huge potential in lowering transportation from the production we have. Roughly 1 million tons can be removed by 2030. And today there's actually hardly no plan in order to lower this. It will require 20,000 trucks, which is half the trucks in Denmark. And is that possible? Yeah, actually we believe, if we look into our competitors who will supply the electrical vehicles and hydrogen, they expect by the 2035 they will cover roughly 50% of the trucks. We can start tomorrow, and we can start increasing it quite rapidly, and even by the end of the 20s, we have a significant part of the trucks which can be changed. So, and this actually only covers less than 10% of the total Danish biomethane output. So why aren't we really moving that way? Before I try to answer that question, we can try to look in how efficient is biomethane. Biomethane is actually quite efficient. If we compare, if we have a truck or a car driving on diesel, it's roughly 4 kilo of carbon dioxide, which is the outlet into the atmosphere every time we use 1 kilo. But if we start using biomethane from energy crops, ethanol from sugar beets or sugar cane, or even biodiesel from rapeseeds, these are a bit more efficient. But if you start moving into bio-waste or advanced biofuels, which is these green areas, we have a huge impact, especially if you look into the biomethane produced from slurry or manure. Actually, we can save the climate for 9 kilos each time in comparison with the fuel from diesel. So this is actually based on the EU's regulation. So it's not figures that we have found somewhere, but it's a heavy interest in this. First, we can solve the solution the problems in agriculture by the outlets if we use manure, and on the other hand, we can replace diesel in the car or the trucks. One of the issues we have always been discussing is a sufficient amount of biomethane or methane in general. And there is indeed, in 2030, the prediction is the need for this sort of methane in the industry, in households, in balancing the grid, and this is for transportation, which covers 20,000 trucks. And if you look at what the output we could actually produce, we have some slurry, but there's a huge potential in producing biomethane from straw. And if we then try to recount and say, okay, we have an outlet of carbon dioxide, that's natural. Biogas is methane and CO2. And if we can reuse that CO2, we can actually produce quite a significant part of methane, which can be used for transportation. So it's quite easy. As said here, we it will cover less than the consumption, as a 10% of the total output of biomethane or methane in general in Denmark. So we can actually quite rapidly change this into a huge reduction in transportation. And why is that? I think we are in Denmark definitely by far a pioneer in transportation. We should look south for the border. Germany is really aggressive and really doing something about changing the outlet of carbon dioxide from transportation. There's in the law, it's said that 8% by next year, 8% of carbon dioxide from transportation has to be lowered by 8%. That's what I'm going to say. In 2030, that will be 25%. Now we compare to Denmark. This year until 2025, it will be 3.4%. And in 2030, it's 7%. Now what happened? Why is that interesting? Yeah, what is interesting about this is if there is a need, if there's a market, if somebody wants to buy carbon reduction, you have to set this limit high. And that's what we are seeing now. It creates a competition It's not only biogas, it's electricity, it's hydrogen, and it will be e-fuels as well as advanced biofuels. So this is the way to ensure that we start getting transforming our businesses into getting more biogas trucks on the road today. And actually, we don't need any subsidy for neither trucks, infrastructure. This will be covered by the market forces. So for us, it's a big mystery why we are so far behind our German friends. But the only way we can solve this problem is that we will now liquefy our biomethane and transport it to Germany. It doesn't really make sense in the way that, we don't care where we sell it, but it would make more sense to sell it in Denmark and solve the problem here. That was my words.
Thank you, Birger. We are a bit ahead on the time schedule for the first time during the day. So if any of you have a question at the moment, we have time for one question. Otherwise, we'll take the third presentation and take questions at the end of the presentation. So our final speaker is Ole from Scania. Give him a warm welcome as well.
Thank you. Er der whole flu? Yeah. My name is Ole Jørgensen from Scania, Denmark. I'm product manager, and to put it short, we believe in gas. Scania is committed to the Paris Agreement, and by doing that, we have said that our facilities should reduce by 50%, and our vehicles in operations should by 2025 reduced by 20%. So that is matching what Birger is requesting. We have a lot of solution to go down on CO2 emission. Of course, we have biogas, we have HVO, we have FAME, we have hybrid, and then we have, of course, also electrical vehicle, fully electrical vehicle. If you look upon biogas, that is ready here and now, and that is one of the key elements that is reducing by at least 100% CO2. There's also many other benefits, as you can read, maybe noise reduction, which you could also consider as an emission part that you have to be aware of. So there are a lot of benefits related to gas and biogas. We have a gas engine in our truck, 410 horsepower. That ain't much, but it is doing the job. But as I said, we believe in gas, so we will come with two upgraded gas engine in the December 2023. One on 420 horsepower and one on 460 with a magnificent torque. Many knows our brand value of the Scania V8, and you can say the torque that we are now coming with of 2,300 Newton meter is matching what we have on a 500 horsepower V8 engine. So this one will be able to do the job magnificently. It comes also together with a new gearbox. That is how Scania is working. That is a block of Lego, and we have invented a new gearbox solution which enable us to have a much smoother engagement in the first gear. So that is contributing to a much better comfort drive. So then, of course, we still have some small gas engine also for the 9-liter. But in this segment we're talking about, then that cannot come into a solution that is provided. Shortly, what kind of cab can we deliver these gas engines into? Well, when we talk about the big engines, we have the possibility to set it in our G and R cab, P and L cab. As you can see, that is more refuse collectors. It is for distributing inside cities. And yes, we have for sure also sold a lot of these refuse collectors for city application. We not only deliver or develop more engines, we also constantly look into range capacity. So we have now added a possibility to have more gas tanks on the vehicle. The one that HV Transport has is 4 by 118 liter in both sides, capturing something like 350 kilometers. The new setup, where we have 4 times 152 on the one side, we extend this range up to about 400 kilometers. Some of the advantages, some of the potentials. Yes, we believe that it can contribute a lot to the commitment that we have to the 70%. And you could say there is also a lot of jobs connected to this on the farm side of Denmark, which is also something that you could look into. And in 2030, we can deliver completely, the CNG can completely be replaced by biogas instead. So yes, there are for sure potential in this. Now we got some figures. It's always interesting to look at what is the cost about this. We'll talk about the money. Diesel index 100s, HVO is more or less the same kind of price we have on that one. Biogas vehicle, CNG, is a bit more expensive. There are more sophisticated tanks. It creates cost a little bit extra for the engine, so 130,000 extra. If we say what is the extra fee per month, what is the extra cost per month, something like 2,800 for such a vehicle here over a 7-year period, interest rate 2%. 60,000 kilometers a year. And yes, these are prices pre-war Ukraine. But we believe that the world will return to normal again sometime. Let's try to dig even a little bit deeper, because Arla Food has also bought some of these gas vehicles. And we dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, now we take a 2-axle tractor unit, a 3-axle trailer. We try to elaborate a little bit, saying the truck price, the residual value. We accept that the capital cost is higher. We come up with something like 7,500 kroner per year, per month, that it is more expensive. But let's try to elaborate a little bit and say, how many milk containers can there be on such a container? Well, something about 43 containers. Then we end up by distributing per month some 314,000 kilo milk. Then you can make the division and say, okay, then you end up and increase by per liter milk by 2.4 cents, 2.4 øre Danish kroner. That ain't much. So you could say, by doing that, you exemplify, okay, we say that it is 7,500 kroner per month, more expensive. But if you drill it down, it is not that much we're talking about. Some of our customers that we have delivered gas trucks to through the years, HV Transport is of course on the list. There is a lot of other customers seeing the big potential in buying gas vehicles right now, because we can start lowering CO2 emission today, right now. We don't have to wait. Some of the trucks delivered, a very common distribution truck. Then we have some gas trucks also delivered. We can also do, I can say here, 4-axle vehicles for hook lift application, Copenhagen community. Then we have splendid trucks, the HV trucks here, biogas truck. This one, in fact, can be a little bit shorter in the future. We can not only do more range, but we can also do it a bit shorter. One of the problems about such a tractor unit is that we cannot do multiple trailers. We have to do fixed combination. But a new legislation called increased vehicle dimension give us the possibility, in fact, to register this in the future for multi-purpose, for multi-trailers. And then you have a much broader scope of this tractor unit. It is not only coupled to a specific trailer, but you are opening up the complete range. You don't have to be within the 16.5 meter. You don't have to have the fixed fifth wheel placed on 4.5. You have to follow the turning radius dimension. That you have to follow, but you may exceed 16.5 meter. That gives some kind of potential here. And yes, we have also a filling station in Ishøj. We have also an HVO filling station. And to put it honestly, we think that we should have a broad number of possibilities, giving the customer the possibility to lower his CO2 emission right here, right now. HVO, biogas, and then, of course, fully electrical vehicle. Fully electrical vehicle will come. But it is correct, as also HV said, it comes with a higher cost today. And it is more complicated to charge the vehicle. So biogas is for sure something that we can do right here, right now. We shouldn't wait. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions to the three presentations in one regarding the biogas for transportation or some of the other technologies that have been mentioned? Yeah, we have a question down here.
I have, and my name is Torben Ries, and I have a question to the graph you presented regarding different, you said the potential on the gas, and then you had a consumption on the right side, and there was a certain amount related to industry, and what is within that?
I think where you're using for process energy as a heating, that's where you need the biomethane in the future. Sorry?
Is that the total need for that in Denmark? Or
yeah, that's in Denmark.
For all industries?
Yeah, for all industries, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions for the presentations? That does not seem to be the case. Then let's give all